Imagine turning the chaos of your life into a source of unexpected peace and profound personal growth. It sounds impossible, right? But what if I told you that ancient Zen wisdom holds the key to not just surviving, but thriving in a world that's constantly changing? There's an ancient secret, whispered by Zen masters for centuries, about finding unwavering peace, even when your world is turned upside down. It's not about escaping the chaos, it's about finding stillness within it. That's what we explore today, not how to avoid the inevitable storms, but how to find calm within them. Join me as we dive deep into the heart of Zen wisdom, uncovering the ancient secrets to not just surviving, but thriving in a world that's constantly changing. Stick around, because this could change everything. Let me share a story about a friend of a friend. Let's call him Alex. Alex was a brilliant young coder, full of energy and passion. He had this amazing idea for a new social media app, something revolutionary that he was convinced would take the world by storm. He poured his heart and soul into it, worked day and night, and finally launched his app with a big fanfare. But crickets. Nobody was using it. The market just wasn't interested. Alex was devastated. He'd invested all his time, his money, his energy into this one single idea, and it had failed. Many would have seen this as a huge setback. It felt like hitting rock bottom. The months of sacrifice and hard work seemingly amounted to nothing. The sleepless nights, the constant revisions, the belief that he was on the verge of something big, all crashed down around him. It's the kind of scenario many entrepreneurs experience. His initial reaction was despair. He started doubting himself, wondering if he had what it takes to succeed. He considered giving up on the whole entrepreneurship thing altogether. But then, after a few weeks of wallowing, a strange thing happened. He started noticing how people were using social media, the kinds of apps they were drawn to. He saw a gap in the market, a need that wasn't being met. Instead of stubbornly clinging to his original idea, he decided to pivot. He took the core technology from his failed app and repurposed it to solve a completely different problem. It's a common theme in the startup world, the phoenix rising from the ashes of a failed venture. This time, it worked. His new app took off, and within a year, he was running a successful tech company. He built a business that made use of what he had initially perceived as a failure. What was the key to Alex's transformation? It wasn't just technical skill or hard work. It was his ability to let go of his attachment to his initial plan, to accept the reality of the situation, and to see the opportunity hidden within the apparent failure. The initial setback served as invaluable market research. It forced him to look outside of his own expectations and see the world as it really was. It wasn't a failure, but rather a learning experience. He embraced the concept of impermanence. He understood that everything, even his perfect business idea, is subject to change and evolution. He demonstrated non-attachment by not letting his self-worth depend on the success of a single venture. He practiced mindfulness by paying attention to the needs of the market, rather than clinging to his own preconceived notions. And, most importantly, he cultivated acceptance by acknowledging the reality of the situation without resistance. He then used that information to grow into the final product. Just like Alex, we can all learn to navigate uncertainty with greater grace and resilience. It's the key that differentiates those who crumble under pressure from those who adapt and thrive. Instead of clinging to your plans like a drowning man clings to a raft, consider them more like a compass. They can help you to orient yourself, but you need to be willing to adjust your course as the terrain changes. What if you embraced uncertainty as an opportunity for discovery, a chance to learn something new about yourself and the world around you? What if you stopped fighting against the current and started flowing with it? This kind of reframing is key to thriving in the uncertain landscape of life. Consider how you can apply that to your own daily routine to achieve that goal. Let me share a story about a woman, a story of someone I heard about tangentially, but never met. Let's call her Maria. Maria was the primary caregiver for her aging mother, who suffered from Alzheimer's. It was a demanding and exhausting job, both physically and emotionally. Day in and day out, Maria would tend to her mother's needs, feeding, bathing, administering medication, and providing constant supervision. As you can imagine, Maria's life was completely consumed by her caregiving responsibilities. She had little time for herself, her friends, or her own hobbies. She began to resent her situation, feeling trapped and overwhelmed. She felt guilty for having these feelings, but the resentment kept growing. She was clinging so tightly to the expectation of being a perfect caregiver that she was slowly burning herself out. One day, Maria was talking to a therapist. She was venting her frustrations and expressing her guilt. The therapist listened patiently and then said something that completely changed Maria's perspective. "Maria, you can't pour from an empty cup. If you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to take care of your mother." That simple statement was a revelation for Maria. She realized that she had been so focused on meeting her mother's needs that she had completely neglected her own. She had become attached to the idea of being a self-sacrificing caregiver, believing that she had to put her own needs last. She started taking small steps to reclaim her life. She hired a part-time caregiver to give her some respite. She joined a support group for caregivers where she could share her experiences and receive encouragement from others. She started carving out small pockets of time for herself, even if it was just 15 minutes a day to read a book or take a walk. Slowly but surely, Maria began to regain her sense of self. She was still a dedicated caregiver, but she was no longer defined solely by that role. She was able to approach her responsibilities with more patience, compassion, and joy. She learned that taking care of herself was not selfish, but essential for both her own well-being and the well-being of her mother. Maria's story highlights the profound importance of non-attachment. She learned to detach herself from the rigid expectations of what a caregiver should be and to embrace the reality of her own limitations. She recognized that her own happiness and well-being were not separate from her mother's, but rather intrinsically linked. Non-attachment is not about abandoning our responsibilities or becoming indifferent to the needs of others. It's about releasing the grip of our expectations and judgments. It's about recognizing that everything is temporary, that even the most challenging situations will eventually pass. And it's about finding contentment in the present moment, regardless of what the future may hold. So, what are you clinging to in your own life? What expectations, judgments, or beliefs are preventing you from experiencing greater peace and freedom? Take some time to reflect on these questions. Consider how you can loosen your grip on these attachments and embrace the present moment with greater acceptance and compassion. How can you apply this to your own life? What are your takeaways from this story? How do you feel that this can impact your life? Really, let's think about how you can practice non-attachment and incorporate it into your life. A stonecutter was exhausted, toiling away at a massive rock. Every swing of his hammer felt like a mountain. He wished he could be someone else, anyone but a stonecutter. He saw a wealthy merchant pass by in a sedan chair, surrounded by servants. "Ah," he thought, "if only I were a merchant, life would be easy." Instantly, he became the merchant, enjoying riches and luxury. But then he saw the king pass by, resplendent in his royal robes, revered by all. "If only I were king," he thought. And immediately, he became the king, commanding power and respect. But then, the sun beat down mercilessly, and the king felt its heat intensely. "The sun is more powerful than I am," he thought. "If only I were the sun." And he became the sun, shining brightly, scorching the earth. But then, a dark cloud obscured his light. "The cloud is more powerful than I am," he thought. "If only I were a cloud." and he became a cloud, casting its shadow over the land. But then, the wind blew him about, scattering him in all directions. The wind is more powerful than I am, he thought. If only I were the wind. And he became the wind, blowing fiercely across the mountains. But then, he crashed against a massive rock, unyielding and immovable. The rock is more powerful than I am, he thought. And suddenly, he found himself once again a stonecutter, facing the very same rock he had started with. The stonecutter's journey reveals a fundamental truth. We often seek happiness and fulfillment by comparing ourselves to others, imagining that their lives are somehow better or easier. We chase after power, wealth, or recognition, believing that these external things will bring us lasting satisfaction. But in the end, we always return to ourselves, to the present moment, to the task at hand. The stonecutter wasn't limited by his profession. He was limited by his perception. This story reminds us to focus on our own path, to appreciate the unique gifts and challenges that life has presented us with. It encourages us to find contentment in the present moment, rather than constantly seeking something better elsewhere. What unique power do you have? How can you apply this story to your life? How can you stop comparing yourself to others and start appreciating your own unique journey? What can you change from this Zen story? Let's reflect to gain more wisdom. So, how do we practically apply these Zen principles to our daily lives when faced with the swirling chaos of uncertainty? The answer, as you might suspect, lies in mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind. It's about training your mind to be present, to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. It's about anchoring yourself in the now, the only moment that truly exists. Think of it like this. Your mind is a turbulent ocean, constantly churning with waves of thoughts, emotions, and worries. Mindfulness is like a lighthouse, a stable point of reference that allows you to observe the waves without being swept away by them. You're waiting to hear about a job offer or an acceptance to a school. Your mind is racing. What if I don't get it? What if someone else gets the job? What will I do? This spiral of anxiety can feel overwhelming. But when you notice it, say, I am thinking, that is okay, and bring yourself back to your body. What do you feel? How does your body feel? What are you thinking? And that is okay, and then return to your body, back to the breath. Closely intertwined with mindfulness is acceptance. Now, acceptance isn't about resignation. It's not about giving up or becoming passive. It's about acknowledging reality as it is, without resistance. It's about saying, this is what's happening right now, and I'm okay with that. Let's be clear. Acceptance doesn't mean you have to like the situation. You might not like losing your job. You might not like the challenges of raising a child. You might not like the uncertainties of the future. But you can accept that these things are happening. And in that acceptance, you find a space to respond with wisdom and compassion, rather than reacting with fear and frustration. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You could get angry, honk your horn, and feel your blood pressure rise. Or you could take a deep breath, listen to some music, and use the time to relax and de-stress. The situation is the same, but your response makes all the difference. I will be okay no matter what. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we need to cultivate compassion, both for ourselves and for others. Uncertainty can be incredibly isolating. We feel like we're the only ones struggling, the only ones who don't have it all figured out. But the truth is, everyone, without exception, faces uncertainty at some point in their lives. Be kind to yourself. Acknowledge your fears and anxieties without judgment. Treat yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend who is going through a tough time. And remember, the more we connect with our own vulnerability, the more we can connect with the vulnerability of others. Extending compassion outward, offering support and understanding to those around us, not only helps them, but also helps us to feel less alone in our own struggles. I'm not the only one. In the end, uncertainty is not an obstacle to overcome, but an opportunity to embrace. A Zen master once said, "The best way to control the future is to give up trying to control it." It is a reminder that uncertainty is not something to fear, but rather a gateway to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Uncertainty forces us to empty our minds of our preconceived notions, our rigid expectations, and our desperate need for control. We then create space for something new, something unexpected, something potentially beautiful to emerge. If a glass breaks, the Zen master does not mourn the glass, but says, "How wonderful that I got to use that glass." So, my friends, the next time you find yourself adrift in the sea of uncertainty, remember that impermanence is the nature of reality, that non-attachment is the key to freedom, that mindfulness is your anchor in the present moment, that acceptance is the path to peace, and that compassion is the bridge that connects us all. Don't curse the darkness, but find the candle. Take a deep breath, embrace the unknown, and trust that even in the midst of chaos, there is a profound sense of peace waiting to be discovered. And most importantly, remember to be kind to yourself along the way. I truly hope this exploration of Zen principles has offered you some comfort and guidance in navigating the uncertainties of your own life. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, leaving a comment, and subscribing to Moon Mind Temple. Your support helps us to reach others who may be seeking a path to inner peace. What are some of the challenges you're facing in your own life right now? How do you plan to apply these Zen principles to navigate those challenges? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Let's create a community of support and understanding, a place where we can all learn and grow together. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May your path be filled with mindfulness, compassion, and the unwavering peace of a moonlit mind.